爆上がりとはまさにこのこと。ワールドシリーズの開催まであと4日に迫り、チケット代の高騰が止まらない様子です。アメリカの西海岸から東海岸まで注目を集めまくる今年のワールドシリーズですが、東西の強豪同士、そしてスーパースター同士の対決に全米でも大注目です。MLB の人気復活に今年のワールドシリーズにかかってると言われるほど、注目度の高い試合になっており、通常のレギュラーシーズン中の値段は MLB 全30球団の普通席の平均チケット価格は 32.99 ドルに対し、なんとすでに最低の価格でも1300ドルを超えているようです。日本円に換算すると約20万円のバカ高チケット、熱狂っぷりがよくわかりますね。今日は様々な角度から試合展開を予想する番組と、現地の熱狂ぶりを伝える番組をいくつか翻訳してお届けいたします。このチャンネルでは日本人メジャーリーガーに関する現地放送局の様子を翻訳してお届けしております。お見逃しのないよう今のうちにチャンネル登録をお願いいたします。
But first, it is a heavyweight battle. Dodgers and Yankees, let's match them up and do a little digging in. These are obviously the big spenders. It's part of their advantage. The Dodgers have been #1 in spending 6 of the last 11 years. The Yankees have been top 3 every year since 2019. They've both been successful. The Dodgers are back in the World Series for the 4th time in 8 years. The Yankees, it's their first pennant since 2009, but they had lost 5 times in the ALCS before this year. So here's how they match up. The Dodgers are #1 in hitting. That's weighted runs created plus. That's hitting. They're also #2 in basic runs scored. The Yankees are #2 in weighted runs created plus, and they are 3rd in runs overall. They're not a good base running team, and that's the key to that. Your hitting goes into the runs and everything else. The BSR, that's base running runs. Dodgers are just much better. They're 4th in all of baseball in base running runs. The Yankees, yikes. 30th. There are 30 major league clubs. That's last. That's a big difference. Defensively, that's DRS, defensive runs saved. The Dodgers are 3rd. The Yankees are 12th. 12th isn't bad. It's not quite elite. So let's dig a little deeper. Where these two stand out is at the plate with their elite plate discipline. We just saw what the Dodgers did to the Mets, outlasting their pitching staff, walking 42 times in 6 games, the most ever in a postseason series. 17 of those walks would end up scoring 37% of their runs. But it's the Yankees, actually, who had the better chase percentage in baseball. Juan Soto and Aaron Judge are 2nd and 4th in all of baseball in not chasing pitches outside of the strike zone, both around 18%. Throw in Gleyber Torres. Yeah, Gleyber Torres, they're now very effective leadoff man. And they have 3 in the top 15 in all of baseball. In the regular season, here's the leaderboard. As good as the Dodgers were, you're facing a Mets team that issued the 3rd most walks in baseball all season. They got all those walks. But the Yankee hitters are actually the most disciplined. They led the majors in chase percentage this year, ahead of the Dodgers and ahead of the Brewers. It is a battle at the plate. Most every plate appearance this series will have grueling at-bats. As far as the pitching goes, the starting numbers can be skewed, as the Dodgers lost a good part of their staff during the season, including Tyler Glasnow and Clayton Kershaw. The Yankees are deeper. Their ace, Garrett Cole, is healthy. They're expected to have Nestor Cortez back. That'll give them 5 starters to choose from, potentially giving them a tandem start in one of those games with Nestor Cortez probably game 4. Meantime, both bullpens are very good, and they have gotten better as the season gone on. Rather than using the full bullpen numbers, let's use what we call A-Squad. A-Squad bullpen, the pitchers who work high leverage when there's a game to win or there's a game on the line. For LA, Brazier, Trinan, Phillips, Kopech. Yankees, it's Weaver, Holmes, Canely, and Tim Hill. So here's what each bullpen, the A-Squad, has done from August on. Yankees A-Squad, a 2.29 ERA. That is excellent. The Dodgers, though, even better, a 1.85. Again, these are the top 4 on each club, A-Squad. Lower opponents' batting average as well, lower ERA, and a higher strikeout rate as well for the Dodgers, over 27%, just over 24% for the Yankees. The ball's in play a little more on the Yankees. But when the game is winnable, they have top-flight A-Squads. Dodgers, though, have been a little bit better. And again, this goes back through August. The two teams have changed dramatically since the playoffs started. The Dodgers lost their starting shortstop, Miguel Rojas. Of course, Tommy Edman has been better. Freddie Freeman is hobbled. He missed 2 games in the championship series. When he did play, he had no extra base hits, while the Yankees are a whole new club. Think of what we were saying going into the playoffs. It's a big 2 and nobody else for the Yankees. Judge, Soto, no one else. But Gleyber Torres has a 390 on base since going to the leadoff spot. Giancarlo Stanton has slugged 802 postseason rounds. And Anthony Rizzo came back from broken fingers, had a 500 on base percentage against Cleveland. Those 3 combined were about league average during the regular season. Combined, You see their slash line and their weighted runs created plus 100 is league average. Essentially on the left, that's the whole season. Those three players, Torres, Stanton, and Rizzo, are kind of a light-hitting shortstop. In the postseason, go to the right-hand column, 300 batting average, 318, 410 on base, slugging 588. That's the equivalent of a power-hitting first baseman. I mean, they're just much, much better. Those three, hitting the way they are, dramatically changes what this club actually is. The Yankees are now a very different ball club. But first, like Dan, if this is a matchup of elite plate discipline, the Dodgers might have this advantage. I mean, even when they played in June, they walked 6 times and 7 times against the Yankees. We talked about how the Mets pitching staff had a tough matchup against them because the Mets stayed out of the pitching zone and out of the strike zone against them. Who wins this battle at the plate?
Well, again, BK, I thought that was, you hit on, to me, the most important part of the whole series. Carlos, all the postseason games I watched, I call it the battle of the strike zone. Who wins the battle of the strike zone, for me, usually always wins individual games and series. I think the Yankees are going to have to change their approach to pitching because as we'll look at this board, they don't pitch in the strike zone either. They pitch, like, out of the strike zone a lot. And so we already see the Dodgers simply do not chase outside the strike zone, Carlos. And the Yankees, are going to have to approach this series different than any other series they've been. You could do that against Cleveland. You can't do that against a prolific offensive team that the Dodgers have. They're not just going to have to attack the strike zone. They're going to have to execute their pitches win the strike zone. And the Dodger pitchers are going to have to do the exact same thing to the Yankees hitters, too, because they don't chase a whole ton either.
It's extremely difficult for a pitcher when you see that batters are out there just so disciplined and do not come out of the zone. At the same time, I would say this. We've seen Luke Weaver start, batters throwing a lot of pitches out of the zone, trying to get chases, and he gets better when he actually comes back into the strike zone. So I'm wondering if having disciplined hitters actually will help the Yankees go ahead and establish that tunnel that they need to establish to be more effective when sequencing. So it's going to be interesting. You have to come into the strike zone if you're going to succeed, especially against a lineup that does not come out of the strike zone.
Yeah, the issue is, though, that obviously is a philosophical approach that the Yankees have put in, that they're banking on the fact that, again, using effective velocity, they're going to get recognition skills that they're going to get hitters to chase outside the strike zone. It worked for them the entire year. Now, can they shift gears philosophically and be in the strike zone to have a chance to win this World Series?
Seems like the Mets staff was different from this Yankees staff, and the Yankees staff is very different. But look at this number. Even the numbers can be thrown off, but you look at the worst starting pitcher ERAs in postseason history among World Series winning teams. 1960 Pirates got pummeled by the Yankees. They still managed to win. But, the Dodgers right now, starter ERA, Dan, is 6.08. Now, they got blown up a bunch of times. I'm not sure if that's what we're looking at exactly in this series. Again, the Dodgers have whittled it down to 3. Walker Buehler looks different. So I don't expect this to be, wow, the starting pitching from the Dodgers just can't be any good.
BK, it's going to have to be better. I do not think it's sustainable, what they've tried to do to get through the LCS. We're going to put up another board here, which actually shows what happens when you face relievers the third time in a series. It's very similar as you face a starting pitcher faces a hitter third time through the lineup. It's just not sustainable. The more these hitters see relievers, the more problematic it becomes. So, the Dodgers simply are going to have to get some innings out of 3 starting pitchers for me to be able to match it. But the Yankees clearly have an advantage right now.
Well, I think they would. We're looking at a different Buehler and Yamamoto at this point, are we? Who knows what happens series to series, but they look different.
I think Buehler's stuff was better. I don't think his command of his stuff was very good. So I'm not talking about the fact that he'll start for them. He's got to give them some innings. Now, the one thing Dave did a great job of, which is so unique in postseason, Carlos, he airmailed in some games. Like when the Mets scored big in those games, it was his B bullpen. He didn't pitch any of his A arms like you would do in a regular season. Hardly you ever see that in postseason. You never give up on a game in postseason.
Well, that's what he only had 2 Mets. I think it was Lindor and Alonso that faced one of the A squad more than once. So Dave Roberts was able to keep A squad to limiting that third time through.
Look, it's not the same as when you see the starting pitcher in the third time, going through the lineup, but yes, indeed. When you see a reliever more and more often, you start getting his cadence. You start getting more comfortable with him. So you try to save those guys. I'm not going to show you, especially in a blowout game, I'm not going to go out there and just throw out my weapons. But this type of bullpenning, if we go through the ALCS and now you're going into the World Series, it's just not sustainable. They need length. And speaking of Buehler, absolutely command is the key if he is to give the Dodgers length. We saw Flaherty also had a tough outing last time out there. Maybe he gets the nod, but he obviously needs to be better. This is a very disciplined lineup for the Yankees.
It is. It's amazing how these teams have changed too, as well. Again, watching these games, you wonder like where would they be without Tommy Edman? And it didn't seem like. Well, it was a pretty big trade at the time. Obviously, so you see the notable players acquired midseason. Jack Flaherty coming over. They went A squad there too. Was considered one of the top starters out there. But to get Kopech and Edman, meantime, Yankees a little more quietly got Tim Hill and Jazz Chisholm. I have to admit, Dan, Chisholm has been a very different player. Goes to third base, can handle it. There are some ups and downs. There's some mercurial performance there, but there's real power. There's a live at bat against good pitching. So these were monstrous deals by both of these big spending clubs.
They did. I mean, I think the Edman thing at the time was way under the radar. I mean, I think the Dodgers have been after Tommy Edman for a while. He was the perfect fit for that club because they had two issues. They had a shortstop issue because of Rojas's health. They had a center field issue. So his versatility to play either of those positions, I thought, was a tremendous get. Start out slow because he'd been hurt the whole year, just needed at-bats underneath his belt. And then the Kopech addition just added to already a deep bullpen, another power arm. And I agree with you on Chisholm, BK. I think he brought an air of more energy to that ball club when that trade went down.
Yeah, there's the three-team trade right there. Edman hadn't played. That was why he was like under the radar at the time. Kopech, it seems obvious now. It's like, of course, they're going to turn him into something very different and an ultimate weapon in the bullpen.
The Dodgers have been really good at that for years now. We see Kike Hernandez being a huge part of the success of that ball club, and now he returns as well. You know, with Edman is this. You look at the player and you tell yourself, look, this is a high-probability swing type guy. He's going to put the ball in play. Yep. He's going to give you good at-bats. He's going to run the bases. So he's the sum of all parts for him. Nothing extraordinary, but guess what happens in the postseason when he goes out there and he actually puts the barrel on the ball?
Yeah, just a great compliment to the lineup that the Dodgers had, though. Like that type of player you described kind of fit to a lineup that wasn't getting a lot of length in it as the course of the season went on. And the other thing about the deployment of Kopech, very interesting, he hadn't closed that many games. So they might have tweaked some of his things, but they also kept him away a lot from the night. He has saves, but Dave just kind of deploys him. He started the other day. He's pitched in the middle of the game. He's pitched in a high leverage late in the game.
But he's leveraged, though.
Yeah, they don't really have a pure closer. They just use a lot of, I guess, Trinan is turning into that right now.
Also, the Yankees reportedly did have a deal for Jack Flaherty. Now, you've been involved. You have 15 years as a general manager. They did not like the medicals. We hear a lot of that in recent years. A lot of times it turns out to be, wow, they really did see something there. Your thoughts on turning down that trade and how different things would be if Flaherty was not on the Dodgers, was on the Yankees?
Well, I don't think the Yankees needed him as bad as the Dodgers needed him.
Right.
But because I think the Yankees survived that, not making that trade completely. Where it would have affected is right now.
Yeah.
Because that would have been one less arm that the Dodgers would have a chance to deploy. Honestly, I've been in trades where some of our players were turned down on medicals, though. And it's crazy, Carlos, because every group reviews medicals differently. So it's not like one consistent thought process.
Yeah, and for you, Dan, like, I mean, you're sitting there in the office and you talking to your medical staff, and your medical staff says, we see something that we don't like, but you like the player. You know, how difficult is it for you to say, you know what, I'm going to trust what my medical staff is saying?
When you get to only navigating 2 months and you really like the player and you have a chance to win a World Series, you're going to make that deal.
That's true. That's different. I was just thinking of Carlos Correa, but at the time we're looking at a 12-year deal as opposed to a several-month deal. But, man, things would be drastically. I mean, Dodgers down to 2-3 pitchers. Flaherty was one of them. They would have been in bad shape.
Ballpark Cam fired up at Dodger Stadium where the Fall Classic gets underway on Friday. A showdown between two legendary organizations, the Yankees, the Dodgers, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, the top two seeds. Kevin, when you see this marquee, what is your initial reaction to the matchup?
My initial reaction is it's awesome, period, end of story. And, you know, every time somebody's team gets knocked out, you kind of gravitate to another team. But these are two powerhouses. And the cool thing about this, and we've always kind of wanted this with Mike Trout, like our best player in baseball, you know, a few years back, and then kind of wanted him on the big stage, and we always were hoping he would get there. And now you have a chance to see the two best players, three best players, four best players, five best players, six best players. I mean, there's top 10 all up and down these rosters, right? With Betts and Freddie Free and Ohtani and Judge, obviously, Soto and Stanton. But you're looking at just stars, and Garrett Cole, local UCLA boy. Dave Roberts went to UCLA. Aaron Boone went to USC. There's so much here, but it's star-studded power. And I think, two big boys salary-wise, they have the ability to go out and get big boy players. But I think this is so exciting because no matter what you say, the Ohtani Judge, they're just not normal, right? One's 6'7", 300 pounds, shaped like a V, and Aaron Judge, and runs and plays center field and right field, moves different and hits balls further than a lot of people on this planet. And then you have Ohtani, who's we've talked about might be the closest unicorn we've ever seen playing baseball.
Kevin,
just does everything awesome. Yes,
Kevin, what letter are you shaped like?
I'm shaped like a pear, so it'd be a P. I just kind of start here, and then I'll kind of have an okay chest and forearms, and then it kind of goes back out. You know what I'm saying? Like the obliques just start hanging after 50. It's a rough deal, Sierra.
Okay.
I would have given him an H,
pear.
like a letter H. You got those big, strong forms.
Oh, damn.
Oh, man. I just, listen, I love the underdog as much as you do, Sierra. I do.
I do.
I think it's so cool when we have teams that, do what Cleveland just did, where we didn't expect it, but we kind of learned to expect it because they did it all season long. But as far as growing the game and getting people to watch the game and eyeballs on the game, they are talking about this coast to coast. No matter where you are, in every airport as you're connecting in Denver, there's going to be somebody wearing a Dodger hat and somebody wearing a Yankee hat. When these games are on, they will be on TVs everywhere, at every bar. Doesn't matter what little small town you're in. This is big news. These are iconic franchises that have matched up against each other in the past so many times, and we haven't seen it for 43 years. We have not seen them in the World Series. So to sit there and say the big two power, it hasn't happened in forever. And like Kevin was saying, the best players, that's what we want. The little kids at home that love Shohei Ohtani, that love Aaron Judge, that love Juan Soto, that love watching Garrett Cole pitch, or Yamamoto, or Walker Buehler. That's who they want to see right now. They want to see these superstars on the biggest stage. And there will be no bigger eyeballs anywhere than we've ever seen. I know what the numbers might end up being here in the U.S., but then you think about the global impact with Ohtani and Yamamoto going back to Japan. This is incredible for our game. We get to showcase the greatest players in the game. They're not sitting on a golf course. They're playing in the Fall Classic, and it is awesome. And we get to see what they do now on this great big stage. And I think it's great. Would I think it's great every year? Maybe not. But right now, I think it's awesome, and I'm fired up for it.
They are two global brands. Really quick, I want to get to the price of a ticket for Game 1 in Los Angeles. Kevin, how much do you think the minimum price is?
Yeah, I saw that. It's very sad. It's $1,500, I think.
1,300. And the standing room ticket at Yankee Stadium for middle games was already over 1,500.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you waited out till the second inning. Somebody's will free up. They can't get rid of them at that price.
You know what? As soon as I saw those prices, you know what I did? I entered the MLB Network ticket raffle.
Oh yes.
Can I have your guys' entries?
By the way, do you have to use an alias? Are we allowed to do that? Did you have to create a fake email account?
I'm going to print off Kevin's name and write it in Chicken Scratch. Time to do some tail of the tape. See that? Because you guys both have little tails.
Yes. I like it.
Well, I always wanted to be a unicorn. I kind of like that a lot. It's like
I am one.
It's like a Minotaur unicorn thing. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I dig it.
You're fast.
You are a unicorn. Kevin is maybe the ultimate unicorn, to be honest with you. He's just
I am.
something else.
I have a follow-up, but we'll talk about it in break. Dan, between the Dodgers and Yankees, which rotation has the advantage?
The rotation, I'm going to give the advantage to the Yankees. I look at it when you go 1 through 4, okay? Now we get into the World Series, and I know bullpen's a big thing, but Garrett Cole, Rodon, Clark Schmidt, Luis Hill. I figure each one of these 4 guys has the ability to go out there and control a game, even against the best of lineups. If their stuff is on, I think they can do it. Garrett Cole, absolutely filthy. I mean, the fact that he's in his 20th career postseason starts. This is going to be his 21st. Carlos Rodon bounced back so well. And from the playoff start against Kansas City to what he did against the Guardians. So I'm going to go just from a depth perspective, and they have 4 good, solid starters that can win you a game each day.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Nestor Cortez, they might get back, so they have some depth and length in their starting rotation. Everybody's talking about the Dodgers starting rotation. Oh, my God, they don't have a whole lot because maybe in Game 4 we got the bullpen start. But I'll tell you right now, do not sleep on the Dodgers' 3 starters. And it seems like they haven't been getting enough credit. But I think Yamamoto's back. I think Walker Buehler, the ball's coming out of his hand almost like it has before. It takes some time. And Jack Flaherty, man, I mean, his first start, in this postseason was unbelievable. I mean, when he beat the Mets. He had to wear it a little bit when he gave up 8 earned runs in the NLCS game. And that's part of what you got to do. Sometimes LA Dodgers starting pitching this postseason 6.08. But aside from Game 5 when he gave up 8 earned runs, Jack Flaherty in 3 innings, they have a 1.52 in 7 other starts dating back to NLDS Game 4 at San Diego. So it's so evenly matched, but I'm going to give the nod to the Dodgers just because you guys said you like underdogs. I kind of like underdogs. I feel that the starting rotation for the Dodgers is kind of like the underdog, and I don't understand why, but I'll take the Dodgers because that's where I grew up, and I used to listen to Vin Scully.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really factor in Flaherty's last start because it inflates you can't really look at the ERA of the starting pitchers because that outlier just completely inflates it. Okay, so which individual starting pitcher, Kevin, will have the best performance?
I'm going to go on a limb. It's not easy. Playing in Yankee Stadium in the postseason, the fans, the East Coast, you talked about it, be a low of 38, maybe 37, high of 50s. Walker Buehler, I think matches up well. If he's throwing the ball the way he has thrown the ball the last probably 5 starts I've watched him, the ball's coming out nice, man. And, Ryan, you've had surgery, and it takes some time, and you're not sure, and you rehab. But I just love his makeup. I think the slider plays. He's got a great curveball, the 4-seam fastball he can elevate. And this dude, you know what? He brings it. He cares. He's got passion. He's intense. If he controls all that and just funnels all that into one, I think that, you know what? He might have the best start.
That's good. I like that. And I like what you said too about that. Sometimes something just happens when you come back from an injury where all of a sudden it clicks for you, and it looked like it's all of a sudden to start to click for him. Towards the end of the season, things started to get a little bit crisper, and then that last start, the 4 shutout innings, he looked really crisp. I'm going to go across the way, and Game 1 starter Garrett Cole. I think that, this is why he got $300+ million. You mentioned UCLA, fight to be back out on the West Coast at Dodger Stadium. He grew up going to games out there. He's bred for this moment. He has experience. He's throwing the ball well right now. He's 1-0 with a 3.31 in 3 postseason starts this year. I think he's just due for something special. This is the kind of guy who can go out there and go 7 or 8 innings of dominant, low hit baseball, not walk anybody, strike out a lot of guys. I think Garrett Cole has, at some point during this World Series, a really, really good start.
先発投手の出来、そしてボール球にいかに手を出さないかが勝負の分かれ目になりそうだという見解が多く見られました。こういうデータで見る野球は日本のプロ野球よりもメジャーリーグの方がはるかに優れているように見えますよね。毎回いろんなデータが出てきて、若干頭が混乱しそうになりますし、翻訳もどうやったらいいんだろうと困ることもありますが、それでも様々な角度から試合展開予想やチーム分析ができるのは非常に面白く感じています。今年のワールドシリーズで勝敗を分けるのはどこがポイントになると思いますか？ぜひ皆様の見解を聞きたいのでコメントで教えてくださいね。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。さようなら。